In this video, we're going to explain the transformation of functions. So if you have a function that is y equal to x squared, how do you sketch this function? Well, the easiest thing to sketch a function is you take a table of values. Let's take a few negative values and a few positive values and see if we plug in these values of x, what do we get for the y? So if x is equal to -3, the y is going to be 9 by plugging -3 here and squaring. If x is -2 squared, it's going to be 4, -1 squared is going to be 1, and so on. You're going to get these values, right? Which you can sketch them in order to get a graph that looks like this. So if x is -3, y is 9. If x is -2, y is 4. -1 and 1, 0 and 0, 1 and 1, 2 and 4, 3 and 9. So you get this parabola shape. This point here, we call it the vertex. And in this case, it's going to be a minimum value for the function, right? This is going to be the minimum value. So this is when you have y equal x squared, just x squared. So what if you did x squared plus 2? When you think of the table of values that you have here, if we call this, let's say, this is the value when you have x squared. So if I put here x squared plus 2 and I do the same exercise, this is going to give me, I'm going to simply add 2 to all the y values. So this is going to be 11, 6, 3, 2, 3, 6, and 11. So when I go and sketch this function, what will happen is that instead of getting -3 at 9, I'm adding 2, so I'm going to get it at the 11. The -2 is going to be at the 6. The -1 is going to be at the 3, the 0 as the 2, and so on. So what happened to the function, it actually shifts upwards by 2 units. So we can see that the vertex here, instead of being 0 and 0, it pushed up by 2. So it became 0 and 2. When does this happen? When you put here a number, whether it's positive, and we'll talk about negative shortly, but it's outside the x squared. So the function moves up and down, right? In this case, it moves up. In the same sense, if you plot x squared minus 2, and you get the values for x, take the same values for x and get the y's are going to decrease by 2. So if it was here 9 at x squared, it's going to be 7, and then 2, -1, -2, -1, 2, and 7. All the values decreased by 2, since now I want to find x squared minus 2. So what will happen to the graph is that it's going to go down 2 units in the y. So it's going to start at 0 and -2, and it's going to have the same exact shape, but it went down by 2 units. So this is when the positive or negative is outside the x squared. Let's see what happens if these numbers happen to be inside with the square. So let's try looking at y equal x minus 2 all squared. Now if we do our table of values again, x and y, and say that this is -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and you begin plugging in. So when x is -3, y is going to be 25. When x is -2, y is going to be 16 by plugging in -1, replacing the x here. So this is 9, 4, 1, then you're going to get here 0, 1, and maybe you can go down, you're going to get 4 and 9, and so on. So if you sketch this, what actually happens is that -3, 25, -2, 16, you'll find that your parabola looked like this. So in this example, it did not move up and right. It actually went up and down. It actually went to the right by 2 units. So this is very important. When you put a negative inside with the bracket, -2, the function moves to the right. So this is a little bit counterintuitive because we always think that the x negative we move to the left, but actually when you put negative inside the bracket with the x, the function moves to the right. Versus here, when I put a negative outside the bracket, it's outside the x squared, the function went down, right? So inside with the x, it moves to the right. Negative, it moves down if it's outside the x squared. And using the same logic, if you try to get y equal x plus 2 all squared, right? It doesn't have to be 2, definitely. It could be anything. Because if you put plus 2, it's going to move to the left because this is inside the bracket. If it was outside, like in this case, it moved up 2 units. But since it's inside with the x, so it's going to move to the left 2 units. So this is your curve, and this is going to be at -2 and 0, right? So if you took a couple of examples on this, you need to know if it's inside the bracket, it moves left and right. If it's outside the bracket, it moves up and down. So if you have y equal x plus 2 all squared minus 3, so -2 inside the bracket makes the parabola. It was initially at the 0 and 0. Plus 2 makes it go to the left 2. -3 makes it go down 3. So the parabola is going to look like this. And this point, it went to the left 2 and down 3. Remember, when the number is inside the x positive, it moves to the left. And when it's negative outside, it moves down. So in the same sense, if you have x minus 1 squared plus 4, so here inside with the x and negative, it moves to the right. So it's going to move to the right 1. Plus 4, outside the x, it moves up 4 units. So the parabola is going to look like that, and it's going to have a vertex at 1 and 4. This is what we call translations or movement horizontally or vertically. The curve does not change its shape at all. It just moves to the right, to the left, up and down. In the next video, we're going to continue the transformations.